And hello everyone. And this talk is about again variation graphs, which are a type of pangenome graph, just as the speaker before me actually treated something. Sorry, no problem. Cool. Huh? Ah, okay. Okay, sorry. All right, one more time. Yeah, great. Okay, this is indeed working. Okay. All right, so this is about correcting errors in long reads using variation graphs, which are a type of pangenome graph that I'm treating here. It's just the exact same type of graph the speaker before me treated. So here in the variation graph here on the first slide, you already have one, and nodes are reflecting patches, reflect patches of sequence, and in edges reflect that you have found the two patches of sequence connected with one another in one of the genomes that contributed to constructing the graph. Yeah. So here I'm Alex Schoenhuth. I'm the last author, and the first authors weren't able to come, so I'm doing the presentation with them. Yeah? All right. So as an overview, as for the motivation, and you can cast actually the problem we'd like to try to solve as a chicken egg type problem. Yeah. So I try to frame my problem in these terms. And then I talk very briefly about third generation sequencing, which I think everyone actually understands anyway. And then the methods, at the core of the methods, there is the variation graph pruning, yeah, which I will explain in more detail, and then also show you the workflow that wraps around the that is the frame that in which the pruning is integrated. Yeah. Okay. So in the results, we have results for simulated data, for real data, and I give an outlook on what next afterwards. All right, so the chicken egg problem. Yeah. So here, so this is these are five genomes. Yeah. And so R, A, B, C, and D, and in a linear reference type of world, you would have like R is the reference, and the individual variation that characterizes the individual genomes A, B, C, and D, they stick out. Yeah. If you, however, pack them into that graph, yeah, here then the variation doesn't stick out anymore. So there is no variant-induced biases to any kind of analysis that uses this graph. And also you have compact storage and reconstruction of all the genomes, and the recombination events become traceable. And also you have like the ancestry relationships becoming more obvious. All right. So you all know that possibly. Just to have this in compact form one more time. And the chicken egg problem is, okay, what came first? Yeah, we have the assemblies here, which are clean and nice assemblies, yeah, on the one hand, and we have that graph, which is kind of the other thing, which is clean and nice as well. So in other words, we have like the individual members of a population, we have the population, and what came first? Yeah, the population or the individuals. So the chicken egg problem is actually kind of, if you if you would like to kind of construct a graph, you need clean haplotype resolved genomes. And on the other hand, like the graph supports the construction of clean haplotype resolved genome assemblies a lot. It's meaning kind of, if you understand the population, it's a lot easier to really understand the individual members. Yeah. All right. So, and here the problem really is, okay, first, third generation sequencing. Yeah, we like to work with that. And here, this is about PacBio, yeah, not PacBio Hi-Fi. We would like to use the longest reads of all, and these are still kind of the ones containing lots of errors. And here we have the read length ranges from kilobase pairs to even megabase pairs. You all know that, but still we have a high error rate in the ranges of 5 to 15%. And we'd like to get rid of these errors. Yeah, this is what we are trying to do today. Yeah. All right, the situation is the read length, of course, enhances haplotype resolved assembly, but the high error rate requires that the errors are corrected first. And then the prior work is that correction crucially depends on reference sequence, yeah, not graphs, but reference sequence-based reference systems. Huh? And the linear reference then has this bias and doesn't see the haplotype-specific variance kind of as something that is nothing unusual, but mistakes this, yeah? And this is the problem. All right, so here the problem for us, the technical problem is kind of where do we get the graph from? All we have is the raw reads, yeah? And there's no graph, but we would like to have a graph, yeah? And so how to hatch a chicken from no eggs in a way, yeah? So if the graph is chicken, then you don't have any eggs, you would like to have a chicken, what to do, huh? All right. So speaking pangenome graphs again is kind of the initialization. We suggest the following approach is kind of we create a variation graph from the raw reads, yeah, which is kind of raw reads are not really eggs, yeah? It's not really something really you can bake chickens from, yeah? It's like very unusual, and I haven't seen this in the literature seen before in the literature to work to any kind of advantage. Yeah? So this is kind of, we tried nevertheless, yeah? It was not really pointed out as something you should do, but we tried, yeah? And the situation is afterwards we create that variation graph, we construct it, and afterwards you have like both the reads in the graph full of errors, which is even kind of, yeah, you have errors everywhere, yeah? All right, and then in an iteration, which we suggest is you now prune the graph, yeah, the chicken. So you remove the errors from the graph using error statistics, yeah? So no usage of reads in this step, yeah? We just study the graph, we study the statistics, kind of the edges, the nodes and everything, and then prune the graph and remove error-induced artifacts. Okay, and then when we're done, we have a better graph, and then we realign the reads against that graph, or we correct the errors in the reads, yeah? Using that now improved graph, it now already serves the purpose for correcting errors in the reads, yeah? Not to the optimum, but still, yeah? And then we reconstruct the graph from the now improved reads, and then do this again, yeah? Return to 1, yeah? And we do this until convergence, yeah? Until there's no more modifications applied to graph or the reads, yeah? So we have removed, in a way, all the errors we hope, huh? All right, in the chicken egg world, is kind of, we hatch a chicken from the immature eggs or no eggs or whatever, how you frame it. The chicken, the situation then is kind of, you had really nice graphs here in the talk before, but the graphs that we have at the beginning, they look like terrible. It's full of, I don't know, error-induced bubbles and stuff. It's like a foam bath, yeah, of bubbles. And then you have like the chicken is immature, fairly misshaped, yeah, not really in a position to really raise eggs, yeah. But nevertheless, we sit it on it, yeah. We sit that chicken on the eggs and raise. Well, we raise the chicken first. We raise the chicken for a while. We feed it, remove the errors, yeah, and then we sit it on the eggs and hope for the best. And then we rehatch another chicken from the now matured eggs. Huh? Okay. Okay, now let's become serious. So this is a graph. This is a snapshot of the graph, and we now raise a couple of quantities. We have like the nodes reflect patches the sequence, and we have an edge connecting these patches the sequence. If you saw the two patches the sequence appearing one in the reads, yeah. So this is kind of the graph arising from the raw reads, yeah. And here we have W of V being the expected amount of reads that cover a node, yeah. And we have W of E, an edge U V, reflecting the expected amount of reads that cover the edge, so covering both V and U, yeah, or U and V, yeah, in that order. And S of V and P of V denote vertices that succeed and precede V. So here in that picture, for example, yeah, we have like VJ being like the successor of VK up there, yeah. So VK is a predecessor of VJ, yeah, because it's connected via an edge to VJ in that direction, yeah, and the other way around in the lower part of that picture. All right, and then we raised 3 quantities. It took us a while to come up with the right statistics. Actually, these are borrowed from data science. Yes, from frequent item set mining. Here we have like the confidence of the node I in the edge vi vj, yeah, which is kind of the fraction of the expected one who reads that cover that edge over all the expected amount of reads that cover edges leaving from vi and the other way around, yeah. So we have ci to j and we have cj to I, yeah? And the confidence in our edge now is the maximum of these two values, yeah? And now the meaning is, one means, okay, how much does node vi use the edge? Yeah? And 2 is how much does node vj use the edge? And 3 is how much does at least one of the nodes actually use that edge? And if there's no edge, if there's no node using the edge, then this is likely an artifact, right? We can remove it. So this is the core of our pruning operation, is like remove the edges with too low weight, which means the edge is not used anyway, we can remove it, yeah? Or with too little confidence coming from the node surrounding it, meaning the edge is underused relative to the coverage surrounding that edge, yeah? So there's nobody really using that edge, although there's tons of things going on around it, yeah? All right, this is likely an error, yeah? So we remove those edges, and then we have possibly a couple nodes that now dangling or just completely isolated. We remove that as well. And then we have pruned the graph, and we realign the reads against that pruned graph. And then we have another graph kind of, or we have other expected amounts of reads, kind of the W of E and the W of V change after realigning the reads with that thing, yeah? Okay, so this is the workflow. Do I need to hurry up? Well, okay, so the workflow, I'll be quick. So here in step number 4 in the picture on the left, this is where that thing happens, and all else is kind of just wraparound, which is very important. We kind of actually segment the genome into different windows, and so we can operate in a parallel manner, and we have maximum parallelization. That's pretty much the story about this picture here. We have 2 cycles. The first cycle incorporates the procedure I just described, which is kind of graph pruning, the iterative one. And then at the end, we have like what we call pre-corrected reads. They're pretty clean, but still we have that nice graph, we have the nice reads, but still possibly they do not really kind of go hand in hand. And so what we do is in the second cycle, there's only one step. Yeah, the second cycle is actually a one-step cycle. We just lay out the paths in the graph that reflect true haplotypes in that graph, and then realign the reads only against those paths, and then remove finally the last error from the reads. Yeah. All right. So that's cycle 1. Cycle 2, I'm not going through that. In cycle 1, you have that graph pruning thing. Yeah. It's step 4 in the picture from before. Yeah. So step 4 here is pretty much this here. And this is the difference between cycle 1 and cycle 2. Okay, results is we compared with related work. Hybrid correction is integrating short reads. Self-correction is just without any auxiliary data, is based on multiple alignments or the Brown graphs or both. And in summary, they tend to rely on consensus sequence, yeah, just every one of those. And in DBG's consensus paths, and so they tend to mask true variation because they mistake them as errors, yeah? All right, in results, we then here in the third column, here the error rate, this is the most important one, yeah? The other statistics we just mentioned because we would like to point out that none of the methods actually cheats, because if you just remove all the reads, then you corrected all the errors as well, and we don't do that, right? And none of the competitors do. And here we see that here in this scenario, we work on metagenomes mostly, which is the greatest challenge of all, because you do not know how many haplotypes there are, yeah, and this is why we focus on that. Huh? And here you see that the error rate drops by factors of 14 to 30, 9 to 26, 4 to 11, depending on the ploidy. The ploidy is not provided as input to our method. Yeah, it doesn't know the ploidy. Yeah, it's just for figuring out what it does to our method. Yeah. And so here as well, for simulated oxo nanopore data, you have the same picture. So we're not talking, okay, so maybe this is quite, I was quite happy about these results, because we're not talking about kind of, we have improvements of 10, 20% or 40% or something like this. We have like 100%, 200% factors of 2 to 5 to even 10 to 30. Huh? So this is a drastic improvement, as I find. And so also here for other simulated metagenomes, low complexity, high complexity, and so on and so forth. The same picture, 6 to 7-fold improvement, 3 to 4-fold improvement. And also here, real PacBio data is 2 to 4. And here is the only data set, whereas one of the competitors actually the core on the natural way culture metagenome here in the middle. You have like, we only have 40% improvement. 2 minutes? Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Conclusion outlook is, okay, VeChat corrects errors in long reads, uses haplotype-aware reference systems, and does not mistake haplotype specification for errors. Actually, the take-home messages here in terms of what really happens is the other methods correct the errors just as well as we do, yeah, but we do not introduce new errors into the game, yeah, and the others do, because they mistake the true variation for errors and they clear it out and then have introduced new errors. And this is what we are the only ones to not do that. And this is the perspective. In future work, we'd like to improve in terms of runtimes, yeah, and then that's the references. And thank you very much.
Any questions? So we start here.
Thank you, Alex. That was really a very clear presentation. I have a question about the metagenomes. Have you tried like doing any binning of the reads first, just because, and then trying to run your method on each individual bin?
No, we didn't do that. No, we just took the raw reads as they were, as they came. We didn't apply any binning or something like that. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why are you suggesting this? Are you suggesting this for good reasons?
Yeah, well, I mean, we would like to try it on our metagenomics data. And one of the issues is that you just have like everything, you know, in one together. And I just think that maybe like doing some sort of pre-processing and binning might help improve your error rate. And I was just wondering if you've tried
our runtimes maybe. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I think that we have time for one more question.
Hi, thank you for your entertaining talk. I wonder what happens to reads that are within repeated regions, where it seems maybe from the perspective of a read in the graph as if the ploidy suddenly changed. What do you think happens to these reads?
We haven't really, this is definitely always a good question to ask about repeats, yeah, but we haven't really looked into that. Yeah, I do not know what happens to reads that stem from repeat regions. Most likely the statistics do not improve if you look into that, yeah, and I do not really know what happens there. We haven't kind of zoomed in the graph and had a look where the repeats are. But it's a good comment. Mm-hmm. Thank you.